conversation that I've been having with myself as far back as my preteens, right? And at the time, I don't think I realized that that's what was happening. And I think even with my mom, when I would tell her when they tease me at school, it's conversations that she would say, but what do you think? How do you look? What do you think? Is that how you look? Do you believe that? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Tea with Aro. This is just where we come to have tea and have great conversations that are thought-provoking, conversations that makes us think, conversations that are building. So today I'm joined by my best friend. Do you want to introduce yourself? Sure. Hi everyone. My name is Precious Wanangwa Chirwa. I am an artist, a lover of God, and I'm Alu's best friend. So thank you so much for coming, Precious. Thank you for giving me time to actually sit with you and have this incredible conversation. Sure. So today we'll be talking about self-acceptance. So I think the first question I want to ask you is, what does that mean to you? What does self-acceptance mean? Yeah. So I'll start at the beginning. I'll start at the beginning so a self-acceptance is a conversation that I've been having with myself as far back as my preteens, right? And at the time, I don't think I realized that that's what was happening, or it's a conversation that was happening, or a journey that was happening in my life. And I remember merely because of it's how I made the way people look at me and say I look. I made that to be my truth. And I think I would always come back home and one changes about myself, one changes in my body, because I didn't know any other truth but that. That was the truth for me, and that's how I saw myself. And I think even at the time, like I said earlier, that it is a journey that was happening that I wasn't even aware of. That's what it is. Until growing up, as I grew older, that I had to have an intentional conversation with Precious and how she sees herself, and who she is, and not who the society says she is. Because for her at that time, it was a thing of, this is how they say I look, and so this is how I need to look then in order for me to fit in order for me to belong, in order for that became my identity, in order for me to be a part of something, and that was the masses or the majority, that's what seemed acceptable for me at that time. And I desperately wanted, those changes to be made. I wanted a bigger butt. I wanted, curves. I wanted a narrower nose. I wanted more flesh in my body, because I've always been a small or a petite, body make. And so so it meant, so for you to belong, this is how you need to look for the society, and so that's how I wanted to look. That's how I remember even praying about it, actually. I think in my this was now in high school, because all my friends were, of course at that age, you are developing, breasts, butt, curves, and and here I was with an athlete body, so I didn't know how to embrace that, because I grew up not being told that is beautiful, I grew up being told that you have a big nose, so big nose is wrong, so then I should have a narrower nose. Okay, you're so skinny, skinny is wrong. also you need to gain more weight, you know. So I think it's those things that I defined as who Precious is and how I look at myself. It was through the lens of someone else and not through my own lens. Yeah.
Oh wow. And I can only imagine, like how, because you are not fully existing, as who you really want to be, in a space. And I can only imagine what impact that can have, Also you developing, like you're saying, you're a teenager, how that can affect how you look at yourself and all those things, like you said. So I think what I want to know from you is, do you still then have parts of you that you feel like, I struggle to accept this, this part of my life, or this part of who I am, I struggle to accept?
Definitely not. Definitely not at this point, no. I reached a point, I don't know when the transitioning happened or started happening, but I reached a point where it was, Precious, this is who you are. You have a wide nose, you have hands and feet that kind of do not correspond with your height. You are a petite somebody, or you were built like that, and that's how God made you. So do you receive me as I am, or do you work hard to trying to fit in to what the society tells you? And I needed to answer that for myself, not for anybody else. And I think at that point in time, that's when the image of me changed. That's when who I saw myself as started to change and started to evolve. That I needed to accept myself and say, hey, you have a wide nose, but you're beautiful. You have, hands and feet that are, but you're beautiful. You are petite, but you are beautiful. And I think it also contributes to your confidence as well. And how you show up, because all of that, they distort the way you are and how you carry yourself and how you show up as well. You look down on yourself, but the moment you change the script, and not for anybody else but for you, the moment you change the script and look at yourself how you want people to see you, and that this is how I was made, this is how I was created, with all these parts, I'm putting them together and they become a beauty. They become my individuality, and that is something that I need to embrace. So the society needs to adapt to my individuality. I don't adapt to theirs or their reality of me, or how they think I should be, or how I need to appear for them. It's me that I need to allow them into my world, where they need to adapt to this world, that, so there's also people like this, and it is okay, to be like that. So right now, there would be like shots in my head of, sometimes I wish I did have a narrower nose, but I don't think it consumes me as it used to when I was a kid, as opposed to when I was a kid. I don't think I'm defined by that now. I don't believe I'm defined by that now. My self-image, it has changed, and no one can try and influence it otherwise. It's grounded, it has a foundation, and I think even how God would have these conversations with me, and I think even with my mom, when I would tell her when they tease me at school, it's conversations that she would say, but what do you think? How do you look? What do you think? Is that how you look? Do you believe that? And even with my teacher, I'll share a story. I remember it was in grade 6. This kid drew what seemed to be a picture of me, right, with an exaggerated nose. I used to get the comments of "Usqedile oxygen," so he drew this picture of me, and with an exaggerated nose, and then he shows it to me, and everyone laughs, and so So then I ran to the teacher with that picture, and I was hurt. So I ran to my teacher with that picture, and I show her that this boy says that this is me. And then she says, she asked me, Precious, she called my name. She's like, is this you? And I'm like, no. She's like, do you believe this is you? I'm like, no. She's like, forget the boy. If you don't believe that this is you, then this is not you. I think I was so upset, I didn't even realize what she did for me at that point in time. I was so upset that me reacting emotionally, I wanted that boy to be punished. Because, because you hurt my feelings, and it is something that is close to how I now have to define myself as, I am identifying as this thing, or as your reality. Like I don't know any other truth, but that. I'm in grade 6. That's what that's 11 years. I'm 11 of age, So now I'm so upset. But when I reflect on it now, I'm like, man, she actually contributed in a way that I didn't even realize at that point in time, because my focus was the boy must be punished, finished and clad, but no, it wasn't that, it was, how do you allow people to see you? That's what she did. How do you allow people to see you? You see yourself the way you want people to see you, and that's what they will see. And eventually, that's what they will buy into, believe, and really when they look at you, it's what you show them.
Yeah.
It's how you teach them, It's how you direct them to see what you want them to see about you. And yeah, so right now, no. The answer is no.
That is so deep. Like, that's so, because for me, I'm like you saying, it starts with you.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have a certain perception, or you have to see yourself a certain way, which is who you are and how you are.
Yeah.
That if you're in a place where you do not have that power, you're giving it away. Then people start defining you.
Yes.
People start putting you in boxes. People start telling you who you should be.
Yeah.
And if you do not have like what you had, which I'm so glad that even your mom instilled that in you, to say you can actually fight back by just being yourself and being proud and being real and being rooted in who you are. Because who you are is not what everyone else is saying.
Yeah.
It's actually who you are.
It's who you are.
To say you can end up just being whatever. And I think this is just for everyone out there to say, if you do not have that sense of self in a way where you just like, this is who I am. I'm not like the world need to receive me. I don't have to receive what the world has to impose on me and be that and just replicate whatever the world is giving me or is telling me or who the world is telling me to be.
Yeah.
So I think my next question then will be, why do you think in society, like as people, it's so difficult for us to just be individuals and be okay with that and accept ourselves as an individual and therefore accept each other with our differences? Why do you think there's such a conflict in a way, or is such a difficult thing for people to do, to accept themselves?
We always are after what is already there because it's easier. Instead of starting something new that is foreign to society. So I'm saying that someone decided that there is a certain way, I would say, I would reference us women, a woman should look, how they should appear, how they should, how their body needs to be like, or what their body needs to look like. And the masses follow into that being acceptable. There is a society that agreed that that is acceptable. This is how a woman should look like. This is how a woman should dress, and this is the type of body a woman should have, and these are the type of lips that a woman should have, and hairstyle. This is how nails. All of that. And upon that society agreeing, it is something that then becomes published on the basis of power, being communicated to how it will reach the rest of the people. And when that happens, so whether newspaper, magazine, TV, now social media, that has now become a culture of the more, because the mind is a creature of repetition. The more you hear of something or about something, the more you see something, and the more whatever you consume or indulge in, it becomes your reality. And so it became our reality that there is a certain way that a woman should look or they should show up, and that then that brings attraction or draws attraction of men, or because we are beings we want to belong, we also want to be seen, we like attention and so forth and so on. I don't know if it's on the basis of that's how or that's what was meant to be achieved for us to be beings of liking attention. But I mean, why would you communicate that a woman should have curves or a big butt if it's not for that? What exactly, apart from at some point being used as objects of sex, but I think when there's already something that has been built, it's easier to just come in on top of that instead of starting from scratch. Yes, replicate that, like you said, instead of me coming as the way I am and saying it's also okay to be in this build or to appear in this build, as a female, it is okay. And for people to follow is like, what is attractive about that type of thing, I mean, already, because all they've known or they are conditioned or we are conditioned to is this is how, this is correct, this is not, it is incorrect. So I think it's hard to embrace individuality in that sense, that there's already a conditioning of the mind of what individual. First, I don't think I will even associate it with individuality. It's just mass production, honestly, of humanity, because individuality stands on its own, and it does not fear to stand on its own. It does not fear to embrace its individuality. It is what it is. Either you take me as I am or you don't, and that's that. I think there's a friction because that is the language that we're speaking, within our communities. It's not a norm. I think it's a what is it? It is a topic that needs to start. I mean, I like now that we are growing up in the culture where arts is embraced, and arts is about individuality. Arts is about individuality in a sense that you come out as you are, and you embrace who you are, what you're about and what you do, without being apologetic about it, and I think people are slowly grasping the idea of what individuality is, or individualism is, and they are also trying to come out of there, but it's not an idea or a concept that sits comfortably, because of how will people look at me, how will people receive me, type of thing. And when I do this, you'd find there's the most talented person in the family or in the friends group, but they are scared because they don't know how their surrounding will receive them, because all they've known is a different of you that you've never even exposed, type of thing, So I think it's a friction because there's already a conditioning of the mind, of how humanity should be or how an individual should be, and so to start a new thing, it's very foreign, to the most of us. Yeah. Mm.
Wow, because I would like to think that, even with creation itself, like when God created us,
Yeah.
he was intentional.
Yeah.
And not just like saying, oh, I'm creating South Africa. They South African, so you're going, I'm creating Precious.
Word.
I'm creating her to be this kind of a person.
Word.
So God is intentional about everything that he does. And I like to believe that he was intentional about creating us also. And the things that he also deposited in us, like gifts, talent, the way we look, all that diversity, that there is an importance to embrace that diversity. And even for us as people to acknowledge that, oh no, I'm Arwani, she's Precious, we're not the same. We might be from the same place, we can even be sisters, but we're not the same. And even how we created is not the same. And who we are supposed to be is not the same. And I really hope, and I believe that you hope for the same, that we grow to embrace than reject. Because I don't get you, then I mean we're best friends, but our personalities
are completely different.
Yeah, but we understand that as people we are different. And we have to embrace one another. And sometimes where we fail, I think it also has to do with our conditioning. I grew up seeing certain kind of personalities. I grew up around certain kind of people. Therefore, that's what I'm conditioned to think it's normal, if I can put it that way. Then when I get to be exposed to different kind of personalities, different kind of people, it's almost as if, but I think as people we need to get to a place where we understand that we're different. And that diversity should be a good thing. And that people shouldn't just, wherever you go, you try to fit in. When you're in this group, you're trying to be this person. When you're in that group, and sometimes because you're not allowed to be who you are, because people are starting to look at you like, oh, she's too much. She's this, So I think for me, that is very important to say we have to embrace that diversity. Then we'll be able to accept ourselves, because then we'll be given an opportunity. Because now you have to do it because, like, you have to be bold. I feel like out there you have to be bold to do it, like you do it, to say, I'm who I am. And I'm going to come as who I am. Because I can't be anything else.
That's true.
So this is a very interesting conversation, my friend. I wish we could have them all day and just talk about this, but we'll definitely do a part 2, even a part 3. So this is very important.
It's important.
People walk around and they just want to be that and just deeming everything that God has given them and who God has created them to be. So I think in conclusion, I'll ask you, why do you think it's important? Okay, firstly, is it important, and why do you think it's actually important for us to get to a place where we accept ourselves? For me as an individual, for you as an individual, why do you think it's important?
It's an important question. Sure, that's a very important question, actually. It's a very good question and an important question. I believe self-acceptance is important not just for yourself, but for humanity as well. When God created us, it's also showing gratitude to God, and trusting that, confirming and affirming that even though He doesn't need it, but affirming that when He created you with purpose, and He created you with a role to play, to fulfill as well, not just to carry and be there just for being there, but there was intent and a story behind it. And it is for us to uncover that story, to uncover that purpose, and to fulfill that role, because each and every one of us has been appointed, and our appointments come with how God created us and what He bestowed in each and every one of us. And together, when the moment we discover who we are, and the moment we are able to accept ourselves within our perimeters, that God created us within, because each and every one of us, we were created in our own perimeters that we need to understand, and we need to show up in the world within those perimeters, and not try and borrow from Mo'alu, or try and steal from Mo'alu, or try and copy from Mo'alu. That's why you are an individual. You know, God created you with your own, and God created Mo'alu with her own, you know. And so the moment I try and, you know, I see with yo, Ella Alu is flying, you know, and it's excelling and she's doing well. Maybe let me just stop wasting time. Let me do what I've already seen, you know, because it's easier anyway, and I'm seeing it's working as well. And probably that's why sometimes we fail, because we're trying to be other people, you know, with what God has given us, and we do not succeed at that, you know, because we are not learning to embrace who we are. We are not learning to trust that God bestowed in us what we need, so that we can fulfill the purpose and the role that He has appointed within us in this world. When we come together with an understanding of who God made you to be, how God made you, with your purpose, with your role, with my purpose, with my role. Together we are able to make this world what God intended for it to be. So I think it's very important, because we are in the service of humanity as humans. It's not I understand what God bestowed in me for myself. It is for each other. It is to serve. That is the purpose of humanity. That is the role of humanity, and understanding ourselves. Our purpose is to serve one another. Our purpose is to be in relation with each other. You know, our purpose is to help one another, you know. And so I think really, yeah, that's the most important thing that we need to understand. You know, that God will never give you what is outside of what He was supposed to give you. You know, we were all given what we were intended to do here on earth. We were all equipped with what we were intended to do and fulfill here on earth. The moment we step out of our perimeters, the moment we step out of our zones, the moment we step out of what God has given you and what God has trusted you, it's a disrespect to God, firstly. You know, it's a disrespect, because clearly you are saying, you did not know what you were doing when you created me. I know better than you know. And so I'm gonna step out, do my own thing, wait until you fail. Wait until you fail.
Then you go back.
You will go back. You will come back from where you step out of. Because it just really, it's a matter of understanding and accepting, and having that courage and boldness to say, this is who I am. I get it now. You know, this is who I am. I get it. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really amazing, and I hope it's encouraging for you guys, whoever gets to watch this. I hope you're encouraged by that. And I always ask myself, you know, like, to say, if I'm living someone else's life, who and when is my life going to be lived? Because I think, like you were saying, God gives us what we have. It's like there's a path I need to walk. If I'm walking your path, what must happen to this path? Like, who's gonna walk this path? So that's how I always look at it, to say, if I'm going to try and wanna be like Precious, wanna be like that girl who's trending, wanna be like whoever.
Word.
When is Aru going to leave?
Word.
When is Aru's path going to be, you know, when is that journey going to be established, or going to be a thing where, you know, I'm walking down that path? So I think for me, I'm really encouraged. Also for me, I was just thinking of myself as you speak. I mean, as you're speaking, I'm introspecting, because it is so much work.
Yes,
There's so much I need to do.
It is.
And I like to believe I'm not the only one. You know, like, there's just so much work we need to do, because we're so conditioned as people to think a certain way, to think certain things are acceptable, certain things are not acceptable. Yes, we're people of faith, we always seek God with what we do. But it will be a disgrace, if that's a word, to, at the end of the day of, at the end of it all, when you meet God, and it's like, those talents I gave you, my child, that gift I gave you, my child, whatever that God has entrusted you with, why were you just sitting? Why were you done playing yourself? Why were you shrinking yourself while I actually made you to be this kind of a person? To say at the end of the day, you don't want to know how to answer God because you're trying to be someone else or you're trying to fit in. So precious, like I said, we can talk about all day. You and I can really talk the whole day about this topic because it's such an important topic. But like I said, we'll probably have like other parts and then we'll come back here and continue with this conversation. But I want you to talk to a child or to a girl or to whoever who's growing and they're trying to find themselves in this world of social media where people are told who to be, how to be, when to be, that how then can they be able to accept themselves, to not lose themselves, trying to pick up on this, pick up on that. How can they build like the courage that you also had, how can they build that courage from a younger age as they're trying to find themselves? I mean, maybe even for people who are older, I mean, I feel like I'm still trying to find myself. For everyone who is in that state where they're trying to find themselves and they're just trying to make sense of life, how can you encourage that person? Like, what can you say to that person in order for them to be able to come to a place of self-acceptance?
Thanks, Alu, for that question. Sure. It's not easy. It's not easy, actually. The only reason my mother knew is because I told her of my school experiences. But if I didn't share, so imagine for a young girl who can't even open up about it at home, how hard then it must be for them. And so it isn't. I think there is an importance in it takes a village to raise a child, because if a home is not a safe space, then there should be somewhere else that is a safe space for them, where they can be able to open up about their happenings or even share about their curiosities as a female, as a young girl. Sure. Because I'm just thinking, I grew up in a home that, my mom I grew up in a Christian home, where I would like to believe that my mom would pray for us, and I would like to believe that today we are an outcome and a result of her prayers, and so there's a life for each and every one of us, that if it is in your path to encounter self-discovery and have those conversations as young as, 8, 9, then it was in your path. It was meant to be in your path. But if it was meant to find you later when you have grown up, then it was meant to find you later, because I would like to believe that all that you would go through during those years and those phases of your life would lead you to that point of self-acceptance eventually, of self-discovery. There's no way of eluding it. There is no way of dodging. Man. I really can't put it into words, what that would look like. But I guess to answer your question is, there will always be noise from the outside. There will always be people that will want to impose and condition you to their beliefs, to their ideas, to their knowledge, to what they were told as well, to who did what to them, that they now want to pass it on as well. There's gonna be such people. And there will be people that will tell you that you are beautiful the way you are. You know, there will be people that will tell you that embrace yourself the way you are. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Do not listen to the naysayers. You know, do not embody the truth of someone else's truth or someone else's image about you, and allow that to be your truth and your identity. But allow yourself to be in the journey of discovering how you look at yourself, and that the way you see yourself, that is how the world should see you. How do you want the world to see you? How do you want the world to see you? When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? And how do you want the world to see you? I think that's important for you to ask yourself that as well. That whatever and however you see yourself, that is how the world would see you. It's important to create boundaries as well, to protect yourself in how much do I take from people, and to know what is good for you and what isn't good for you as well. I think for myself, you know, it got to a point where I was just like, not long ago, this guy, I guess he was, because he was mad or whatever, but because I didn't greet him, he was like, ngobubi, you know, and then like he was so upset because I didn't greet him back. I chose not to greet him, you know, because I'm just like, why, you know? And I think because I saw his intentions, so I just got disinterested in Jay right there and then. And Nakona, you have a choice, you know, you're not forced to. And so he's like, yeah, hamba ngububi. And I think as I walked away, I laughed. I laughed at how petty he was, you know, because he didn't get his way. So I'm gonna say something hurtful that could affect the way she looks at herself. But if you're not grounded in yourself, that could easily, break you. And that's something that you could identify yourself as. So it's important to know who you are. Tell that to yourself first before the world tells you. It's important to believe what you tell yourself before you believe what the world tells you. When they tell you, it's like, you humble, you take it, but you humble as well, you know, when you take it. So yeah, I might be all over the show in my answer, but I think it's those points. Take what you can take, or whatever that you can take. Whatever works for you. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mama, for this. Thank you guys for watching until the end. I like to believe that you watched until the end. So do subscribe, do like, and do share and comment. If you want to continue with the conversation, you can comment on this comment section, and we can continue engaging in these kind of talks. But like I said, I'm gonna bring you part 2 and part 3, right?
Yeah, bo.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.